This video is going to look at the different types of shapes for graphs. For these problems 9 through 12, we need to identify if the graph is symmetric, uniform, skewed left, skewed right. So the skewed left and skewed right, people tend to get these pretty mixed up. Like I would look at number 9 and our gut instinct might be to say that this is skewed to the left because we have most of our measurements on the left, but that would not be right. This is actually skewed to the right. Because what we look for when we talk about skewed right, skewed left, is we look for sort of the tail of the graph. Here the tail is going off to the right, so it's skewed to the right. Number 12, on the other hand, the tail goes off to the left. So we would say that this one is skewed to the left. I don't know if you can hear it. My dog is right next to the microphone and she has a ball in her mouth and she is just being ridiculous. But so we have two other graphs. We have 10 and 11. The number 10, this is one that we would call symmetric. And number 11 would be uniform. So something that's uniform is sort of straight across, like straight across the top, or straight-ish. It's not perfectly straight, but it's approximately straight. And then something that's symmetric, we look for, you might have heard of a bell curve, and that we're going to talk about in a different unit, but something with that sort of shape we would consider symmetric. Down here, we need to match the graphs to the descriptions. If we were to roll a dodecagon 180 times, so a dodecagon has 12 sides, and as long as the die was fair, we would expect each number 1 through 12 to appear about the same number of times. That's going to be graph number 11. And here I'm just going to kind of list answers, but justify, I'm just kind of saying those out loud, but hopefully we understand that part of it. The frequency distribution of salaries, where a few executives make much higher salaries than the majority. So the majority is less than the executives. So that is a graph we're going to look for. That's going to be number 9. Most of our employees are kind of on the left side of the graph. This is where most people are. But there are a few people over here on the right who are making a ton of money. The frequency distribution of scores on a 90-point test where a few students scored lower, that's going to be the opposite graph. That's going to be graph 12. Because we have a few people who are on the lower end and most people are on the higher end. And then the last one, the weights of a sample of 7th grade boys, that's number 10. Usually things like weight and height, we would expect a fairly symmetric type of graph. We're going to have people who, in this case we're talking about weight, so there's going to be people on the lower end, people on the higher end, but most of our people are going to be sort of in the middle of the graph. So things like weight and height are typically symmetric, and that is what we would expect.